So thanks for having me here. I'm between you and the coffee break. 11 minutes, that will be tough. My name is Vollmer. I'm the CTO of MeisterLabs, which is the company behind two tools. One is called MindMeister, which is rather old, so it's 9 years old. So we were celebrating our 10th birthday this year, actually. And the second tool is MeisterTask, which we launched last year. MindMeister has about 4.5 million users, which is, for a niche product, it's a mind mapping tool. Not that bad, I would say. And when we started 10 years ago, I mean, there was no JavaScript. I mean, there was JavaScript, but it was running really slow. There was no libraries. I mean, we started with Ruby on Rails 2.3, I think, or some 2 version. And there was prototype.js, of course, but that's it. And we were actually, or we wanted to actually draw diagrams with nothing, because there was no canvas, there was no SVG. So what we did actually, and that's just a little side anecdote, we drew the lines with divs, really small divs. That was the lines. Yeah? So that's how we started off. Okay, but second tool, MeisterTask. We started this programming 3 years ago, or like 3 years ago, and we wanted to do everything different, of course. Yeah, so we had this legacy of MindMeister, Ruby on Rails, prototype, Scriptaculous, and so on. And we said, okay, it's time for something completely new. There are new technologies out there, of course, and we need to take a look at that. So we, at this time, so 3 to 4 years ago, we used Backbone. Yeah, which is really cool framework, and we started off doing some of this nice UI, and for example, a popover. Yeah, so of course we use classes, JavaScript classes for nice UI. So we started off with a nice popover. It has some selection in there. It has a filter up there. I think I have a laser somewhere here. Yeah, so I have. We have a filter here, and yeah, it's a nice hierarchy, but you already see where this is leading to. So we already have 5 classes, it's only 1 popover. And of course, there are some product managers that says, yeah, we need some other kind of popovers that, for example, create some, what is this? That's an action where you can actually add an email. Sorry for the German screenshots here. The presentation is usually German, so I just changed the text here. So, okay, not that problem. We can do a class hierarchy for that. Again, popover, we just add some input view here, some list view here, and we have this popover. Nice. Yeah, so we have, after doing that, we have actually example number 1, popover 2. And, sorry, I'm losing here. Okay, so now, next product manager says, okay, cool, but we need to have our input field, comment field, where we can actually, mention someone, and we need another popover. And this popover should be somehow connected to, of course, to the input field. So what do? Yeah, still doable, not a problem. And of course, we can go on and on forever. So we have this kind of popover. It has some special text here. So it's not the same that we saw in the first thing, but there's a special text. So again, we have popovers with searches here. We have popovers that have special things like icons in it. And it looks like this. And it's still nice class hierarchy, but it sucks a little bit, or what do you think? So there, I mean, not that I'm against inheritance, classes, etc. So the title of the presentation is Inheritance versus Composition, but there is no true winner, of course. It's just what you want to make. You need to find the best way out of it. But classes tend to be, they have a tight coupling. I mean, the whole idea of classes is to encapsulate the data and just have like an API to the outside world to communicate with it. So that's the whole idea of classes and inheritance. Of course, you can extend stuff, but if at some point you want to actually do something within the data there, of course, you can do private things, but it's getting messy. Yeah. So another example. So the motivation why we looked into a technology that is very hot right now, it's called React. So who uses React? Oh, okay, I thought it's more people, okay. So, and I'm not doing a React talk now because I think we have one later in the afternoon. But this example uses React, and basically, it's not about React, it's about the Markdown thing. Yeah? So actually, we want to display interpreted Markdown on a page. We are using React to do that. Basically, there is a class here somewhere encapsulated in the example called Markdown that actually interprets the Markdown and builds a tree out of it, basically. And that's fine. That works fine. And it works fine for us. So this is an example from one of our products. At some point, someone says, OK, nice Markdown, but I have a text that is like this. What do? We need to truncate it. OK, so if the Markdown class that we use, that's probably a library somewhere, doesn't support truncating, what do? You want this, hello world, so you truncate it somewhere, but you will most likely get this if you truncate Markdown. Yeah? Because it's not that easy to truncate at a specific position. So what do? We usually, what do? We fork probably the Markdown repository and hack it in there, and so everyone gets his requirements in there. Another example. jQuery, sortable, very nice. You can just put in stuff in there. It's draggable, it's sortable. It works. If you want to do something like this, what does it mean, this? It means that it's actually creating space for the item that you want to drag there with jQuery. Or if you want to do even something like this, where the smooth scrolling starts to get faster at some point, these kind of things. What do? Usually, again, you can hack into the sortable thing, extend it somewhere, fork it, etc. And that, by the way, are the options of jQuery sortable here. So there is nothing for, let's say, create space in the list, etc. So basically, if you use classes, of course it works, because it worked for the last, let's say, maybe even 40 years, 30 years. By the way, who is older than 40 in here in this room? Ouch. I am, by the way, yeah. So basically, of course, inheritance works, but it's like IKEA. If you want to change something, I mean, IKEA works great, so not that I want to get sued here. It works, but if you want to actually change something, you have to be very, you have to improvise, you have to, do things by your own, hack stuff, of course. And there is a hacking community for IKEA as well, as you probably know, that doing great things out of IKEA furniture. Not that I'm getting paid by IKEA. So basically, composition is not a really new concept, and it's like functional programming, or it has some something to do with functional programming as well. But let's say, who uses Unix pipes? I guess everybody who uses Unix here. Not that many. Okay, some people. So it's not really new. It's very old, actually. But it works. Why does it work? I mean, actually, all these programs that we have here, like let's take this example here. All these programs like ls or like the counting thing or like the splitting thing, they are separate programs. Basically, they work by their own, and you can use them. You can use them standalone, works great, and you can combine them actually. And there is a secret protocol, basically. It's very easy here, of course, that makes it possible to combine all these blocks together. Yeah? And you can do amazing things, and that's not from me, of course. I Googled that, so, and I wrote that down here, what it actually does. So you can do amazing things like a dictionary check with these commands, and just by piping stuff all together, this works. And for example, in our Markdown example, as easy as it looks now, it's easy to just think of like streams or like having data that you pass from one function to another function, and that they change the behavior of the data, yeah? Or they change the data. And in this example that we had previously with the Markdown, it's just taking, like, parsing the Markdown string as before, and then having the tree, but then going with this data into the next step and changing that, etc. So basically, it's the same thing that we saw before with the pipes, but just in JavaScript. And this is pseudocode. There will be mistakes in there. So don't blame me for that. So basically, composition is really about separating the data from the code and not doing like in classes or in objects where you actually have the functionality within together with the data. Yeah? So composition is really about having these two things separated, like the stuff that changes the data and the data itself. And who knows Redux or uses Redux already? Also a couple of people. So basically that concept is basically separating the data from the functionality, and it's working great with React. Another thing that we saw is the drag and drop animation. So that's also very simple. You just separate the data, the drag and drop states from the rest, and then you can actually do whatever you want. So basically, the drag drop state just consists or holds all the items in there, and you have the dragged item in there, and basically you pass these little objects from one function to another. And if you want to basically have some space in between, yeah, you can just put it in there. So there will be a function after drag and dropping that says, I don't know, adjust space or something, and then that looks on the data and just creates the space that you need or whatever you need. Yeah? So very simple. So you could combine like functional or composition programming a little bit like Lego blocks. Yeah? So Lego blocks are also, they are like self-contained, complete things. They stand for something like the block. They have a color, of course, but and they have a different size. But you can combine them to form something great. Yeah? And there is great Lego things out there. And so what I want to say is basically, of course, we need classes, but sometimes it makes more sense to use composition, to use like pipe concept to get to your results. Yeah? So I don't want to stand for the either or the other, but so just use these concepts. Take a look at the concepts. That's also very interesting. As my previous speaker said, learning is very needed in this context, so good. So, to sum it up a little bit, maybe we get the coffee break. No, it's already too late. So, avoid abstracting your state and business logic with classes. So, basically, think about what you want to achieve, and think ahead, of course, a little bit. Yeah. So, for example, the UI example from the beginning. Yeah. When you do the popovers, etc. I mean, you can foresee that some product manager is coming up and saying, "Hey, I want this other popover. I want this. I want that, etc." So, in this context, in the UI context, it probably makes sense to not go for the classes and then probably use React and Redux together. And of course, treat the data as first-class citizen, and then you can handle it through a collection of code. So whatever you want to change, like for example, also a good example is like transitions that you want to do, things that animate, etc. You can pipe them very well. Take a look at Ramda if you don't know that. So that's a library like Lodash, for example. But it has some nice functional type of aspects. Like, for example, currying function is in there. I don't know, who knows what ML is? Some people. So ML is a functional language, also very old. And when I looked at Ramda the first time, it was like, I had like a déjà vu saying, all this sounds familiar. So it's nothing really new, but it's like new for the JavaScript community. And of course, if you're not familiar with React and Redux, take a look at that. That's really hot technology done by Facebook, and it has really some advantages. But I'm also not religious. I say, I mean, maybe 4 years we have a new technology. It's always like 4 to 5 years. So when you have the time and the patience, and you, of course, want to get into new technology, then look at that. So, by the way, we are hiring. So we have a I had to do that, of course. We are hiring. We have an office in Vienna. Even so, we are a German Munich company as well. So if you're interested, then just go to our website. And also our 2 products, MindMeister and MeisterTask. Whoever wants a license for 6 months for free, just give me or contact me in the coffee break, and you get the code. Okay. So some questions. I mean, I don't say that classes are mistakes. We use them all over the place. Yeah. So, and we use. I mean, JavaScript is, as you know, very old. It was originally invented to be part of the Netscape server, I think. So in the browser, and then of course Brendan Eich he used that in the browser. There was also the Netscape server that uses that in terms of doing functionality, but that was actually like probably 20 years ago, or even more, I don't know. And of course, it was a scripting language. I mean, he did that in 3 days. Yeah, you have to remember, JavaScript was like hacked in 3 days. Yeah, and it was like a side project of, maybe he was a student even then, I don't know. So it wasn't really invented to make these things that we do today. Yeah? So of course, it has to have some transition, and I think that classes are a must-have, of course, and just be cautious when you use them and when you use something else. Next question, why did you decide for React and not Angular? Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. When we looked at both things, we had the feeling that React is the cooler thing. Maybe that's the decision here. Okay. And do you still use Backbone? Yes, we use still Backbone. So MeisterTask is in parts React, but also in parts Backbone. And MindMeister is still using Scriptaculous at some points. Yeah? And we are now revamping everything with React, but that will take some time. I mean, a big piece of software, you can't do it new, actually, or you shouldn't do it new. That's also something that maybe as a giveaway. Refactoring is nice, but redoing software is bad business, actually. Yeah? So maybe it's for developers, it's cool because they say, yeah, we have new technology, etc. But you can actually break a business by doing the same thing that you already have. Competition has a lot of more time to develop new stuff while you are still doing the thing that you already have. Yeah? So that's bad. Okay, thank you very much.